Sarah, I want to go to you first. What do we know based on evidence about the alleged
Did you see that? Did you see him slow down his speech and give emphasis? Let's look at that one more time here.
Right now? And Sarah, I want to go to you first. What do we know based on evidence about the alleged fraud?
Right, so you see him slow in his speech and he's emphasizing based on evidence. Now, he's talking to her, but that message is not for her. That message is for you. That's for the viewer. Hey everyone, this is Matt Wills with Defining Ethos. So today we're looking at the CNN tactics and strategies that were used against Nick Shirley. Now this video makes a bit more sense in the proper context. So of course, Nick Shirley did that daycare fraud investigation and the media was silent for a few days. That generally means they either don't want eyes on it or they have to scramble to figure out how to put their own spin on it. So the investigation, it just became too big to ignore. So after they were able to get an on-the-ground interview with Shirley, they put together this clipped segment to do some obvious framing.
DHS and the FBI said they were surging resources to Minnesota to investigate what they called suspected fraud sites. This all comes in response to a viral video posted by a MAGA content creator.
MAGA.
He claims that he uncovered widespread fraud by Somali-run child care centers in the state. CNN is looking into those claims and has not independently verified the accusations.
No,
but the deputy secretary, however, the so-called evidence comes from a man who has posted anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant content in the past.
So what she just did there is called well poisoning. So that's to frame a person as morally contaminated or socially unacceptable before you see the footage. That way the viewership applies this negative emotion to the person no matter what the video shows. Now the reason why the media would do this is generally if they don't have incriminating footage of that person, but they still want to discredit them. So you have to think with the money and resources that CNN has, if they had morally contaminated examples of Shirley, they would play it directly after making the statement. But since they're not doing that, they clearly don't have anything.
This is MAGA YouTuber Nick Shirley. Back at a daycare in Minnesota, he alleged was a fraudulent facility in a now viral video.
People are going to say this is a left or right issue, but no, fraud is fraud. And so I'm not out here trying to put a twist on things.
Shirley tries to open locked doors and talk to people at various daycares he claims are frauds.
Did you come during their normal operating hours when you came to visit?
I came at 11 a.m., I believe, and I also came the following day later in the day. The point of it is not whether or not I came at the right time of their operation hours. The point is that blacked out doors, they can't give you any information. You call that number, no one answers. I wasn't trying to go inside, and there should be a way for somebody to actually be able to call that number and somebody be able to answer. These aren't real businesses.
But surely you don't think a daycare should just be unlocked. You shouldn't be able to just walk into a daycare.
She's just defending.
No, every daycare is locked.
Their doors are locked.
And so, okay, you bring up a fair point. Then why can't they actually give me information how to enroll a child?
I think that federal law enforcement hasn't done enough. I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on, but they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on, for years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota and go to all these daycares, no children, they're receiving millions of dollars. We uncovered nearly $110 million in fraud in one day.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own now.
So what the interviewer is doing here, she's trying to cause doubt. She's using a standard like true. You could also use words like exact or 100% accurate. And the reason for doing this is because it's hard to live up to exact standards like that. So if someone on camera asks you a question with this type of standard, it will make you have at least a little bit of room for doubt. And if he shows that doubt, they would just clip that and post it everywhere like he doesn't even believe in what he's doing. Now, I imagine she chose to use this tactic because Nick is only 23, so if you're inexperienced, you're more likely to give into the pressure of this type of question. But he's doing well, though. He's not showing doubt, right? Now, what I would do in this situation is I would be intensely sure of myself and act like they're being unreasonable. Of course it's true. You want to see the windows? You want to see the government records? You want to do some ride-alongs with me? What are you even talking about?
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
At the daycare where Shirley showed back up, a stream of children walk inside.
You're saying that this is a fraudulent daycare. There's kids being dropped off right now.
Yes, the Commissioner of Children literally said a week ago this place was closed.
Did you know
They're
that?
showing face right now.
The group chat is back to talk about all of this right now. And Sarah, I want to go to you first. What do we know based on evidence about the alleged
did you
fraud?
see that? Did you see him slow down his speech and give emphasis? Let's look at that one more time here.
Right now. And Sarah, I want to go to you first. What do we know based on evidence about the alleged fraud?
Right? So you see him slow in his speech and he's emphasizing based on evidence. Now, he's talking to her, but that message is not for her. That message is for you. That's for the viewer. So what he's doing is he's pre-framing the conversation, which is to say, this is the lens through which you should understand what we're going to be talking about. Now, being that that lens given is evidence, now it's going to be up to the panel to define the term for evidence. So whatever definition the panel provides becomes what the majority of viewers will comprehend. So say, for instance, they're looking to uncover fraud, they would show evidence like the government records that Nick has that shows how much funding these businesses are receiving, or they'd show empty storefronts that are still collecting money. However, if they're trying to downplay fraud, they would go to the most conservative numbers they can, which would be like charges and convictions. And if they make that their barometer for evidence, then the viewership will conform to that barometer.
In Minnesota, and how legitimate and widespread it may be.
Well, I think a lot of people were very apt to believe Shirley's videos because we had indictments in 2022 when reporting first came out about this issue. It was David Farenthold, then at the Washington Post, who started to unravel all of these claims. The reason why I think Shirley's post has gone viral amongst some of the conservative community is because Minnesota is a politically convenient target, not just for the president, but for the party. Obviously, the governor there, Tim Walz, was the running mate to Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. Ilhan Omar has long been a foe of the
it's a
president.
political hit
And you
job.
noted up top that the ICE immigration raids on Somalis has been a priority for the president. So all of this collectively has made this story something that people want to gravitate to. And in addition to that, previous reporting that uncovered widespread fraud in Minnesota from years ago also makes people more apt to believe this.
Antoine, what does it say about the media landscape at this point when a YouTuber with an anti-immigrant past can post a video with scant evidence, we can say, that launches a federal surge into a state?
I think there are different types of media, and I think Sarah's right. Truth be told, there's been local reporting on this matter for years. In fact, there were 59 convictions under the Biden-Harris administration, as I understand it. And quite frankly, while there's a lot of attention on the Somalian community, there's a white woman by the name of Amy Locke who was convicted, I think, on several different charges, who was considered the ringleader of this. And many of these daycares have been shut down for other reasons, like their ability not to be able to operate properly in the state. And I think the YouTuber video points to one of those who had already been shut down in the past. And quite frankly, I think that the governor has been hamstringed by the legislature for political reasons in order to do more. He was able to shut down the Housing Stabilization Fund, another accusation. So this has become politically convenient, and there's currency in this by this administration to make this a right-wing, red meat, racial talking point about the Somalians, and of course picking on Tim Walz. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone wants to run away from accountability, particularly Tim Walz, who's up for re-election in the state next year.
So they did a few things in that interaction. First, they defined evidence as indictments and convictions. Now, what's interesting about that is that from a legal standpoint, evidence is generally what's given in order to enact indictments and convictions. So they're playing fast and loose with that term. Now, second, the host did more well poisoning. Before asking the question to Antoine, he said a YouTuber with an anti-immigrant past. That's going to increase the viewership's negative emotion of Shirley, as well as have Antoine start from a moral high ground. Third, they're trying to tie Shirley to conspiracy. By saying this comes at a time where the president is putting pressure on Walz and Omar, they're framing this investigation as a political hit job. And fourth, they created a straw man argument. They're trying to say that the people who are upset about this hate immigrants and or are racist. But that's not the arguments people are making. There are two main reasons why Americans are focusing on this. First being that the American tax dollars aren't being handled remotely responsibly, and it seems that government officials are actually in on a giant scam. And the second being that mass immigration has been an increasingly expensive failed experiment at the detriment of the working class. Now, those arguments, they land outside the narrative, so they have to create an America is racist talking point to contend with. That way they keep the moral high ground and have the viewership more on their side. Now, if you enjoy learning about media literacy like this, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.